How does Glasses USA match the perfect pair of eyewear among thousands of styles available in its catalog to each shopper? Their team is using dynamic yield to help them build highly tailored digital experiences with agility and speed, allowing them to increase revenue and gain a sustainable advantage in a highly competitive online market. And for a limited time, Dynamic Yield, the experience optimization platform, is offering a free personalization assessment to identify opportunities that can move the needle for your business. Powerful insights await at dynamicyield.com/total retail.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail. I am joined today by Chase Fisher, the founder and CEO of Blenders Eyewear. We're going to be speaking with Chase a little bit about Blenders Eyewear's growth over the duration of the company, as well as its new entrance into physical retail with its own brick-and-mortar store. So thanks for joining me today, Chase.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So to get us started, why don't you tell us a little bit about Blenders Eyewear for those in the audience that might not be familiar with the company?
Yeah, so we're a lifestyle eyewear brand founded here in San Diego in 2012. We specialize in fresh, vibrant, and affordable eyewear comprised of sunglasses, snow goggles, prescription eyewear. And our products are really inspired by the vibrant lifestyle we live and really built behind this life and forward motion, which is our company motto.
And you mentioned, so the company was started online, correct? And then that was the primary distribution channel of the products to start. And now, and I know we're going to get into this, but in physical retail now with your own store?
Yep. So yeah, I mean, actually the company was started from a backpack on the beach and then it went online and then we're going into retail.
Okay. That's really cool. So tell me a little bit about your background in terms of, what attracted you to work in kind of the eyewear and retail space? And, maybe kind of a second part to that is, what was the inspiration for launching the company? As you noted, it started out of a backpack on a beach. So that's got to be a pretty cool story.
Totally. So I grew up surfing, and that was kind of my first passion in life. And ultimately, it was surfing that kind of won me over and became the compass to my life. And throughout junior high and high school, I started competing. And through competitions, I became sponsored, where I started working with multiple different brands at a very young age. So I guess you can say my affinity for brands came when I was very young. I was never good enough to go professional, but I was good enough to self-market myself, get sponsored, develop meaningful relationships, and network. And so that kind of became, a huge part of my upbringing. And through that, I moved to San Diego to go to college. And I was on the surf team here at San Diego. I would be competing down in San Diego a lot throughout high school. So I really fell in love with this area. And then after I graduated, just like every other college student, you're kind of wondering, what the hell am I going to do? What's next? And the inspiration for the company and Blenders really came from a nightclub. I was going to see my favorite DJ at a nightclub, and I wore some neon green sunglasses that I bought from Target, that I bought them for $5. And everyone in the nightclub was coming up to me asking about my sunglasses. And at that time, I was a surf coach. So I would be spending all my time at the beach giving surf lessons. And I just became obsessed with sunglasses and started noticing the sunglasses that people were wearing, and just started to see a huge gap from your cheap beach knockoffs, like the ones I was wearing at the club, to your high designer sunglasses like Oakley, Ray-Ban, Gucci, etc. There weren't any sunglasses with the same cool factor, but also affordable. So not only was there a need for this, but what better place to do it than San Diego? If it's not going to work here, it's not going to work anywhere, right? So yeah. I borrowed $2,000 from my roommate. I had no experience, no business plan, just a young buck with a lot of confidence that I can figure it out. And here we are 9 years later.
Yeah, that's a great story. And to your point, what better market for sunglasses than San Diego? So with that initial $2,000, what did you go? Did you go buy product? What were the kind of the first steps in getting this company from, a dream in your head, or at least an idea in your head? Maybe it wasn't a lifelong dream, but something that came upon you. What were the first steps to make this a viable entity?
Yeah, look, it's no experience leads you to just being as resourceful as possible, right? And very little money. So what I did was I basically negotiated, terms with the factory overseas, right? I learned a lot of manufacturing just through wholesalers here in California and like wholesalers up in LA. And then that led me to factories overseas. I placed a very small order of sunglasses. They were trying to sell me like 2,000 pairs. I was like, I can't order 2,000 pairs. I can only order 300. Like, I promise you, I'm going to be a very big client one day, to just trust me. And then I used the remaining money to get some stickers, business cards, and a booth at San Diego State's Entrepreneur Fair, which is where basically I launched the company. And so on day one, I was like, okay, here we go. I'm going to sell all 300 pairs. This is going to be an overnight success. And sure enough, I go to the Entrepreneur Fair and I sell 10 pairs. And I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. And so that was the first real humbling experience for me. So yes, I ran out of money on the first day. And it just became a grind after that, just building this business, one pair, one style, one customer at a time, out of my backpack, at pool parties, at music festivals, at surf contests. I mean, this was kind of before online really became a thing, right? So I didn't know how to build a website. I just knew how to self-market myself from surfing, and I knew how to interact with people. So I just built it pretty much, on the streets and at the beach. And then from there, I learned, the next evolution of the business, which was online and social media, things like that.
Yeah, that's super interesting in terms of like just growing this brand on a grassroots level, like you mentioned. Whenever an opportunity to sell a pair of sunglasses popped up, you wanted to be there to take advantage of it. And then obviously that online piece comes. Did you was that all kind of self-taught? Did you bring somebody else in to help you to get it, get the e-commerce site built and eventually go from there? Tell us a little bit about, going that next step and getting Blenders Eyewear online and start selling your product through the e-commerce site.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I had no experience on how to build a website, right? Yet alone how to drive traffic to the site. So this was just done, from a shoestring, right? It was just done by, this was also right around the time Shopify started, which we were one of Shopify's very first brands. So, thankfully they made it very, very easy and user-friendly on how to just like get a website up and running. But that wasn't the difficult part. The difficult part was figuring out how to drive traffic to it. So, from there, it was just me networking with like music blogs and other outlets that had somewhat of an online presence to just help get the name out there. But really, like, our customer base was built organically here in San Diego from a grassroots level. Like, it was really built at the beach. It was built at music festivals. And from there, that cultivated into an online presence at the same time that Instagram started to get popular, which really blew the door open for us and allowed us to just like start to build a brand presence and a brand look that we can eventually, use to drive traffic online. But yes, the first early days it was a crapshoot. It's just, you're throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what sticks, and you're just trying to figure it out, really.
Yeah, and that was going to be a follow up there in terms of Blenders Eyewear is very much a lifestyle brand, and conducive to telling that story on social media, Instagram, showing the product in visual, attractive settings like a beach in San Diego or these other locales. So that's kind of how you at least started to get that organic word out and using social media.
Absolutely. It was done because, one, we didn't have a marketing budget. We couldn't pay anyone to do any, content for us. So what did we do? We used sunglasses as another form of currency. So I started just networking through Instagram on local photographers and content creators that I would leverage to take photos of the product and endorse our product. And so they started coming by my house and coming by the office, and I started to build really good relationships with them where they would go out and shoot photos on their own. And I was just like, hey, just take some photos of our sunglasses, like, while you're out doing these shoots. And before we knew it, we started having like really cool content being sent in. And from there, Blenders really started to like facilitate a look and a feel. And that allowed us to just like help build a brand presence, right? And just build our identity. So yeah, it was really, really fun to kind of figure out that, and it just allowed me to streamline how we do things versus having to like knock on doors all day,
Yeah, no. And so, kind of taking the next iteration and the next step in the journey, you mentioned the Shopify platform. You were able to grow the business a little bit online, get a following, get traffic to the site. So you're moving along and you're growing, and everything seems to be going great. You make the decision recently, physical retail, and you opened up your own first brick and mortar store. I believe it's in San Diego. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about why investing in physical retail. One, now is the right time. Two, what are do you hope to get out of that channel? Tell us a little bit about the strategy around your first store.
For sure. So our retail, I think, actually paints a bigger picture of how we started, right? Like we started on the beach, right? And then we moved into an office. And from that office, we started having people coming into our office, like, knocking on our door saying, "Hey, can I buy sunglasses here?" And it started to get to a point where, like, one, how are you finding us? Two, we're tucked back in the corner. Like, we don't even have a showroom. Like, we had 15 to 20 people coming in every single day trying to buy products. So we're like, okay, I think we need to potentially look at opening up a store because we have demand for it.
Yeah.
And this was right around the time that the bigger D2C brands like Casper and Allbirds and, Adore Me started to really look at or open up, e-com stores as well. And it's really started to favor physical retail. And so, being here in San Diego, having a local presence, we were like, how do we combine office with retail? Like, let's figure out a way to do both. And so we opened up the store, one, because we had the demand for it. Two, because we didn't have success in wholesale. And three, we really wanted to show the brand in its purest form. Right. And so San Diego, born and raised, like Blenders flagship store became the heart and soul of our company, and it's really become the focal point to how we do everything else and how we talk about everything else and how we market everything else. So, the idea of it was you can only really show a limited amount of emotion online, right? Like there's just a certain amount of emotion you can show online, but in retail, it really gives you a platform to just personalize and interact and show your brand in the coolest way.
Yeah.
And so that's what the store is really about, and that really embodies Blenders.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you get to experience, not only get to experience the brand, but also with the product line, sunglasses, the value in being able to go into the store, put the pair on, potentially, see how it looks on your face. Do I like this color? Do I want that, helps to, improve the customer experience too, I would imagine.
I mean, absolutely. Like sunglasses by nature are experiential, right? And so, people want to try them on, they want to touch them, they want to see how they look. Like they also want to interact with us too. Consumers don't just want to go in to touch product; they want to go in to interact with the brand. They want to go into, share experiences that are cool to them. So our goal is, when they come in, is to have them leave saying, "Holy smokes, I'm not shopping anywhere else but with these guys." Like that's the goal. So we really believe that retail gives us that outlet. And, I'm a huge believer that even if you have a massive D2C brand, like you still need to be in the public domain. You still need to be living and breathing in the public world. Even with COVID, even with all these things that are happening in the world, like you need stores to just show that you're relevant and you're real. You can't just hide behind a screen all day. So yeah, it's
that physical touch point with your customer where you're actually getting to, those physical interactions, and, presenting some viability behind the brand too, I think is really important. And that's what we hear from a lot of D2C brands. As you mentioned, you gave some great examples of sort of their reasoning for getting into physical retail, which leads into kind of a follow-up there, Chase, in terms of, is this San Diego, store kind of the flagship and maybe a one-off, or is this a channel that you could see really being a potential expansion opportunity to grow further and maybe different markets? You may not have gotten that far, but how does kind of the future and brick and mortar fit into that future?
Totally. I mean, San Diego's number one of many, right? The next store is going to be Encinitas, which is going to open in May. And, the goal of this is to really create brand amplifying channels, right? And those are stores for us. So, in 5 years from now, we want to have 20 stores. We want to have 20 stores in the most impactful, trendiest, highest populated cities that we're selling online in, and so that's our goal. So as most brands are running away from retail, we're going full steam ahead towards it. And we believe that even with COVID and all these things, like retail is going to open back up. And when it opens back up, it's really going to favor intimate environments, intimate shopping. Whereas bigger department stores are kind of closing up their doors because people don't want that anymore. People want small, like they want intimate environments. They want experiences that they can share. They want connection, and there's no connection between the Nordstroms of the world and the Bloomingdales and the consumers anymore. So I see it being a huge competitive advantage for us and other brands that decide to go into retail. I'm all for it. And people are saying it's a risky move, but it's a risk we're willing to take.
Yeah, no, it's inspiring. So let's talk about your customers for a second, because I didn't include this in the initial outlook of questions I provided, but I'm curious. One, is it very geographic targeted? So I would imagine some of your biggest markets are on the coast. You're Southern California probably, and you might do more business in those areas than say the Midwest or the Northeast or other parts of the country. Is that true? One, and is that kind of what is that customer demographic and customer base in terms of geography dictating where you might look at potential expansion for brick and mortar?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, as sunglasses, you could imagine, one, it's a very seasonal product, even though we're in a very competitive price point. We live in San Diego and it's 70 degrees every day and sunny. It's still seasonal. So, we definitely follow a lot of the sunshine states. I mean, we're huge, obviously here, Austin, Miami, Nashville, Chicago, New York, Florida. I mean, these are all huge hotspots for us. And we've pretty much split our demographic like 50-50, which is also pretty unique. Like most brands are very one gender focused, but we're like 50% women, 50% male. And so that's really, really strong for us. But in terms of the actual locations of the store, we're diving into the online data, and wherever we're biggest online, it's a clear indication that we need to open up a store there. Yep. So that's going to be kind of the roadmap for us to follow. And from there, it's just like, okay, we use our athletes in those cities. We can tap into our customer base to hire people. There's just so many angles you can play with retail that I think are really, really fun, but it's a ton of work, as you probably know.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting that your customers are kind of evenly split between genders. Is there a certain age kind of that's a sweet spot for you, or is it more, kind of runs the gamut from, younger to older? How does the, age factor in as well?
We've pretty much dominated with the Gen Z and millennial markets. Anywhere from 21 to 40, 45 is a really strong market. I mean, that's a pretty big gap, but we're very, very popular within that demographic. So we have our customers broken out into 4 different personas, and we try and design our products as best as we can into those different personas. It's been great though, because, we're a young brand, we're a young team, and we are our customers. So we know very much what they truly want,
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on, Chase, is you mentioned, and this is a good example of how kind of the 2 channels, online and offline, are kind of working together, and you're using some of your online data to help influence, store decisions, potential future store decisions. Tell us a little bit about, how you see those 2 channels working together and how they can help optimize the customer experience by integrating what you're doing on the website into what you're going to do at the San Diego store and potential future locations.
Totally. So, I mean, I think the omni-channel experience is a huge word you hear nowadays. It's a buzzword, but it's very hard to do, right? And so not only just like on the brand side, but just like systematically, it's also very challenging. So we're in the very beginning stages of kind of ironing out these kinks, and we're definitely seeing a lot of kinks that we have to fix earlier than later. But for us, it's continuing to, create that online store or that online feel, but in real person, right? And we follow a similar model. We want the merchandising, the branding, the experience to feel and look the same. But we also want it to be unique in a sense to where if you come into our store, like you're going to be able to get products that you can't get online. You know, there's going to be there's going to be hooks that bring you into retail that I think are really important, that drive people to the store, you know. And so we want to make sure that our stores are where our customers are, and we continue to leverage as much as we can from that so we can have success. But for us, it's, you know, those two things are probably systematically the most challenging right now from like a consumer experience and like data perspective of like somebody buys online, but then they want to return in store. Well, right now our systems don't do that. So, you know, operationally, it's extremely challenging, which I think is the biggest issue with omnichannel, is just the system. So we're in the beginning stages of figuring that out. I have a lot of ideas on the brand and marketing side, but in order to get there, we got to figure out the operation side first.
Yeah, that's probably a good segue into my final question, Chase. I was going to, you know, you mentioned you're a young team. This is kind of a new brand. You've seen some early success, and you want to continue not only to sustain that momentum, but you want to keep on growing. Where's your kind of attention focus? You're the CEO. Is it, you know, sort of maybe the technology investments, those operations that you need to get in place to continue to grow? Maybe it's, you know, whether it's, you know, it's hiring and kind of building the team, or maybe product extensions. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on, you know, what you can do to grow the momentum that you've created at Blenders Eyewear.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I interpret that as what's keeping me up at night.
Right.
What's keeping me up at night is figuring out how to be more resourceful, you know, figuring out how we can be more responsive, and figuring out how we can win at this new level, right? Like Blenders is in the major leagues now, you know, we're not in the minors. And so my focus is really on how do we unlock and scale like strategies that create unfair advantages within these new channels that we're having success in, right? Like retail is one, online is another one that we got to continue to grow. We just launched international. That's a channel that we have to figure out. We just launched, you know, prescription. That's also another huge category with, you know, a lot of potential. So yeah, my focus is really to, you know, find strategies to unlock these new capabilities within these new channels to where we can continually grow. But yeah, it's you know, it gets harder and harder to grow as you get bigger, exponentially harder, that is. So my goal is to figure out how do we win in the majors, not the minors anymore.
Yeah, the opportunity is there. Like you mentioned, it's kind of figuring out what's the unlock to tap into some of those opportunities that exist.
Right.
Well, great. I want to take this opportunity to thank Chase Fisher, the founder and CEO of Blenders Eyewear, for joining us today on Total Retail Talks, telling us all about his company and kind of the cool story and behind it and its growth plan. So thank you for joining me today, Chase.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Your customers expect amazing digital experiences. Not sure how to deliver? Redeem a free personalization opportunity assessment by visiting dynamicyield.com/totalretail.